So Build-A-Bear just returned for Sonic 3, and now these are the Sonic 2 plushies. Heads up, the re-released ones are just re-releases. They didn't change anything on them. I saw them in the store. The only difference is that Sonic Shoes says Movie 3, and the same thing applies to Tails. I think it says 3 now instead of 2, which, I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I do think they could have changed a couple things on these plushies, but I still think these are some of the best plushes to come out of the movie. And they did make a Supersonic, but I had no idea they even made a Supersonic until today. But that was for Sonic 2, so that's not a spoiler. But I will say that this may have some potential spoilers because I don't know much about this. Shadow! Or at least this should be Shadow. Can't stand here, so we're gonna have to get rid of one of them. I was very much looking forward to Build-A-Bear Shadow because I think that the Build-A-Bear plushies are some of the best plushies we got from the movie. They're pretty decent, even though I think that they have some problems, like Sonic's eyes being a bit too small on mine, but who knows? Now, right off the start, Shadow uses a different fabric from Sonic fabric from the rest of the characters. From the product images, I thought Shadow was more brown or gray, but no, he is black. He's just very shiny for some reason. It can very much make or break the plush, but that's very much how you feel about it. The body is generally the same around most of the Build-A-Bear plushes. Now, Shadow's face is a little bit bigger than Sonic's, which is a bit of a downside, but I think that may just be a problem with my Shadow. His eyes are definitely better than compared to Sonic's. His eyebrows, not so much. I think his eyebrows cut off his eyes a bit too much, but, you know, I do think maybe... Actually, I think Knuckles might have the better eyebrows here. Shadow's nose is also the same as Sonic's, but it's not as dark. It seems to be more of a gray color. It's not black like how it is on Sonic's. And the embroidery on Shadow's mouth is nice, but I think it's a bit too thick when you compare it to the other characters. Like Knuckles here in the background, you can see what I mean. Now, the spikes, just like on Sonic, are a bit too short, but I actually think the Build-A-Bear Shadow spikes are pretty good. They're actually slightly longer than Sonic's, which is nice. But one thing I don't like about Shadow spikes is how they're individual. So you can see the individual spikes and the gaps. It very much reminds me of the Franco Sonic plush with the way the spikes are, but they are here and they are decent. And they're nowhere as weird looking as the Toy Factory Shadow. The stitching and fur and all that is super nice. Now, this Shadow plush is very fluffy, very similar to like the Jack specific Shadow, except it uses like a different fabric. The embroidery is very similar to the Jax plush. I really like how a lot of the movie plushies have just adapted this. I think that this is how Shadow's fur should be for all plushies going forward, and I like that. The Minotaur rings are fantastic. You can see the embroidery going off of his arm and is stitched on. I really love this detail for Shadow here. Like, I really like how they did Shadow's arms here. You can see the embroidery and of course the stitching, and the rings are just fantastic. I think that this is the best plush of Shadow rings, period, because like the extra little detail we have, it's nice on here. It's nice and shiny and no printing whatsoever. A bit of a downside is the fact that Shadow doesn't have a pair of removable air skates compared to like how Sonic does, but oh well. And sadly, he doesn't have any detail on the bottom of his shoes, which is a big disappointment because the second Shadow actually shows the Sonic 3 logo, which I feel like for Shadow, they could have just removed the 3 logo entirely. Or better yet, since we're talking about Sonic, I feel like they could have just given Shadow like some socks like how it is for Sonic, and then have the, you know, the 3 logo in the other one, because, you know, he already has the Build-A-Bear shit on his hand, so. Also, in the embroidery around his eyes are there, and it's really nice. I really like the embroidery on this. And the eyes are pretty good too. Now anyway, Shadow has a new accessory. For Sonic, it was the gold ring, and here it is the Chaos Emerald. But according to the website, this is actually not the Chaos Emerald. This is the Master Emerald. The Master Emerald in the Sonic movie was always small. That's how it appeared in the second movie. Which, does that mean Shadow takes the Master Emerald in the movie? Is that what this means? But yeah, this is a plush of the Master Emerald. not the Chaos Emerald, which is surprising. Now the characters are able to hold it through this little string. It can stretch so they can sort of put it on their hand. So for Shadow, you can have him hold his Chaos Emerald, or the Master Emerald, I guess. And I think the Master Emerald is a decent plush. I like this. This is the first time we ever had a plushie of any of the Chaos Emeralds. So I really like how they did it. Yeah, the shape is a bit off, but I feel like if you're trying to make the emeralds as a plush, I feel like this is the best it's going to get. So there's that. Now, normally I wait till the very end to talk about the voice lines, but they literally gave us 4 voice lines. I don't know if Sonic also has 4. He probably does. Bought the fucking voice box by hand. So here's the Shadow voice box. It should play. I'm gonna shut up now. Hold on.
We got what we came for. This ends now. Just try to keep up. This is our last chance. We got what we came for.
That was pretty mixed, man. The voice lines are pretty boring. I mean, we could have at least had Chaos Control as a voice line, like fucking Control. I think he does Control in the trailer. Like, he doesn't say it, but he clearly does it. And no Shadow voice line. Like, I'm saying that would have made this thing a lot cooler. Shadow has some of the worst voice lines out of them all. I mean, Keanu Reeves did a good job, but... So where are my thoughts with the rest of the characters? I think Shadow fits in well with the rest of the set, but my problem with Shadow is the fact that they decided to make Shadow stand out by changing the fabric on Shadow. He stands out compared to Sonic and Tails, which is one of my biggest complaints about the plush, but I feel like that isn't really a fair complaint because it's Shadow and I wanted him to be a special occasion. Like, my only real complaint besides the little nitpick with the fabric is his shoes. I really don't like the shoes on the Shadow, I'm gonna be honest. Should you pick this plush up? Yes, but I really would skip out on the voice lines. I'm gonna be honest with you. I would not bother with the voice lines. But everything else about this plush is pretty good. I would recommend it. I really recommend it. Out of most of the Sonic movie plushies we have, this Shadow's pretty good. I mean, and if you want to buy one, this one will consistently look good. I just would not recommend the voice box. I just feel like some of the slight changes to Shadow makes him look a bit out of place, but he fits in very well. He's still very much a Build-A-Bear plush. He's very much at home with the rest of the gang. The question is, does Build-A-Bear still hold the candle of the best Shadow plush? Because now I do think Build-A-Bear has the best Sonic set for the movie. I want to say each of the Build-A-Bear plushies have like one weird problem, like Tails having a neck, Sonic's weird looking spikes, and Knuckles. Honestly, I think Knuckles is perfect. If I had to complain anything about Knuckles, it would kind of be how his fists look. Fits in well. He's still very much a Build-A-Bear plush. Honestly, I'd say get this guy if you already have the rest of them. Now, I do think Build-A-Bear has the best plushes out of the Sonic movie. Like, I think they're the best Sonic movie plush set. But the question remains, is this the best plush of movie Shadow? I gotta say, I feel like for me personally, it's a tie between this one and the Ultimate Shadow from Jax. Since I feel like they're weirdly enough equal, I probably would make this Shadow a lot better if his shoes didn't cut off. But overall, I feel like this and the Jax Shadow are kind of tied for me. I know some people may disagree with that, but I kind of feel like they're tied. Because this may sound weird, but I feel like the Ultimate Shadow is just a skinnier Build-A-Bear plush.